Welcome to Cricinfo, the lineup. This is a show where we all work very hard behind the scenes, forming our opinions, making our selections, and then we also front up to the camera, but we do not have the words or the demeanor to do either of those two jobs. And in our case as well, we agree that Rohit and Ajit Agarkar would be much better at doing this, but they were not available for this episode of Chatter. So we'll hold our breath on that. Anyway, for this episode of the lineup, not Chatter, sorry, we will be picking the all-time BGT 11. Can you tell us the full form of BGT just to make it clear?
I think it is Border-Gavaskar trophy.
Yeah. So
okay.
And by the way,
not some of the other viral stuff.
And so the Border-Gavaskar trophy only began in 1996. So this 11 is of all India and Australia players based on India and Australia series since 1996. Just to make it very clear, we're only picking the 11 based on performances in those specific series. So It's not overall performances, it's in BGT series. This has been, George Benoit has been saying since morning that this is an impossible task. Yash Jha has been messaging me at 2 a.m. in the morning with all sorts of random names that he's throwing into the mix. And Vishal has asked me at least 5 times whether we can please count Tendulkar's 100 at Perth in 1992. And I've told him every time that it cannot be counted. But as you can see, we have picked 6 names already that we all had in common. Sachin Tendulkar is one of them anyway. But now we're going to be picking the other 5. I'll start with Vishal. Who did you go for as... So we've got Matthew Hayden as one of our openers and we'll talk a little about him. But who was your other opener?
I have forgotten actually. I'm serious.
Good start.
I think it was a middle order player you had pushed up to.
Yeah, actually, there was the middle order, or let's say from 3 to 6 was getting really crowded because 7, let's say, starts the all-rounders and all that. So I had pushed Pujara to the opening slot because either it goes at 3, but then at 3 I thought of Smith, Ponting, Kohli, all these names. One or two of them could be moved down, but who could be moved up? For me, it was Pujara.
Yeah, that is the biggest challenge in this particular edition of the lineup, because you look at the middle order options across both these sides and you could probably make a playing 11 out of that.
Yeah.
Make a playing 11 of just
India and Australia middle order batters from the last 30 years. So yeah, I guess it does make sense to push one of them, especially when it is a Pujara, who we so often push up as opener, even in other 11s of a similar type.
But he does have the skills, as in like he would have the skills to face that new ball for a long period of time.
Yeah. And
his defensive game was beyond question.
And it also helps us save some time, because with Pujara, we don't need to bring up why we are mentioning him. It's still very fresh in everyone's memory. What I will point out though is that it goes beyond just those last 2 India tours of Australia. His very first series in 2010 on debut was 70 and a chase. Then in 2013, he bossed that series at home as well. Made runs in 2014-15 on the away series.
2017, he played that crucial innings in Bangalore, and then Ranchi where he batted some 5,000 balls.
But the question here is then, okay, if we're going with Hayden and Pujara, because I also have Pujara as my opener. We might have discussed that behind the scenes
a little too
much.
But
then we need to acknowledge that we're not considering Sehwag or
more, and surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, I don't want to draw the infuriation of any armies, but Murli Vijay is actually, if you look at it, possibly the second best full-time opener if you look at this period. Because
even ahead of Sehwag,
yeah. Because
Sehwag has those 200.
Sehwag has his moments, yes.
MCG and
Adelaide as well.
There was also a very important 100 he got in India. I think it was in...
And the story of that would have been entirely different had we seen the last day's play. That was Chepauk 2004, where he made 155 in the first innings, was not out, end of day 4. India didn't have a high target, but that test ended in a draw.
And also 50s that he got even in some of the later series, 2008, 2010. But I also would have had Pujara ahead of him. But I think Vijay and Sehwag, both honourable mentions.
So the one thing about Sehwag is that you remove that Chepauk knock, he didn't do much against Australia at home. And let's face it, Sehwag did play at a time when matches India played at home were lucrative for batters. It's not like you're talking about an Indian batter from the last 6 or 7 years. So to bat those many number of tests in that decade and average 35 as an opener is not quite cutting it. The 2004 series that Australia won here, a large part of that was them keeping Sehwag quiet through most of it. And on the counter, Murli Vijay, if you look at what he's done, he's had 2 really bad series. The last 2 series he's played against Australia and still finished with an average touching 50. In 2014-15 in Australia, he made nearly 500 runs in the 4 tests. He had at least a 50-plus score in each of the 4 tests.
A case for Vijay in the 11?
No, I'm just saying that if we did if we were following roles,
but the primary reason
it's important to stay.
They're freeing up a middle order slot for someone else.
Yeah.
That's where
That
The
is
important thing is, Pujara, just to tell you guys, he faced 4,831 balls against Australia in his career. It's actually the 3rd most in BGT series after Sachin and Dravid. So it's just an insane amount of time batted, and I think we all agree.
Yeah.
So we can put Pujara's name there. Yash, I'll ask you to do the honors.
All right.
At second opener, Hayden, I don't think there was much debate about.
Yeah.
Hayden, that 2000 series, he was obviously excellent here. Actually did probably better in India, against India, than even in Australia. I think most of the tests he played, out of his 18 tests in the BGT, 11 were in India, and he still averaged 59.
50 plus.
So that's why Hayden makes it.
All of us must have picked Hayden, right?
Yeah, we've all picked Hayden. So
That's
Hayden
great.
was a simple choice. Now, coming to the middle order. And here's where there were a lot of names. I'll just say some of the names first, okay? So all 4 of us have picked both Steve Smith and Sachin Tendulkar, which means that there is 1 or 2 spots, depending on a combination, for Virat Kohli, VVS Laxman, Michael Clarke, Ricky Ponting, Rahul Dravid. 5 players who could all
But
make
we have
it.
to pick a keeper as well.
Yeah, I'm saying
There is also the possibility, of
possibility
going
of
batting
moving-
heavy
yeah,
and having
of
your
playing 6
wicket keeper at
batters.
number 7.
Yeah.
And Jadeja at 8.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Or keeper at
I'll start with George. Have you picked 2 batters or just 1, and who is it out of all these 5 names?
So you want me to pick a number 5?
Your number 5, yeah.
Yeah, that was really tough. I went in the end with VVS Laxman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not
Was that
Oscar
that-
Boss.
No. Virat Kohli can't bat at 5. He's been number 4 largely.
He's batted at number 5. He batted
yeah,
at number 6. on
Yes,
his
he
first,
has, but-
Australia
tour of
tour.
Australia.
Yeah.
But his primarily a batter number 4. So
George,
How much-
take the actual argument.
How much-
Take this whole position doesn't suit
No,
argument. Tell the
it was
truth.
really hard to
How
keep
much
Virat
of your-
Kohli out of the 11 because I didn't consider him as a number 5. But Laxman, because he obviously has those 3 iconic innings, and in every exercise we do, select the best test of this. Select the best innings, select the best performance. Laxman in Kolkata always comes up on top.
So
You
talking
cannot
about his
not have
Kolkata
him.
innings, Adelaide, and then Mohali.
And Mohali, yes,
Yeah.
and he also has the 100 in Sydney.
Sydney.
In
multiple hundreds in Sydney.
Yeah, then the 167.
2003
Yeah,
and
in
then
99.
Yeah.
So I think he has iconic match-winning performances against Australia that make him too compelling not to include ahead of. Actually, Kohli wasn't. Clarke was the second strongest contender for me to get into this 11 because Clarke has had success in India, in Australia. Obviously, he has had. So leaving Kohli out for me was really, really tough. But I went with Laxman because of.
I have to look at my notes a lot for this one because I just want to make sure we get some of the facts right. Laxman, 6 tons in the BGT, 4 of them in Australia actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was that 178 in Sydney, 148 in Adelaide. Lots of runs in India as well. Very important knock, of course, in Mohali.
The 93 there was.
But let's just talk about Virat Kohli. 600 is in Australia. Okay.
So
Now,
Kohli's
the one issue
hundreds-
is that none of them have come in winning causes, right? Is that
Yeah.
an issue? But I know Vishal also
I
went for Kohli regardless.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say was Kohli has 600s in Australia, which is as many as Laxman in BGT overall.
Yeah.
And in a team sport like this, I wouldn't blame individual performances for not ending up in
of
winning
course.
performances unless there is another player who has made you win matches after matches. That would have gone above Kohli's performance.
Yeah, it's not about what Kohli has not done.
Yeah,
He's
it's
done
more
it.
about
He has the
Laxman's
runs, he
achievements
has-
being just more.
Yeah,
So more
it's
hundreds
just that
is-
he's played those Laxman, Kolkata 2001, Adelaide, and Mohali.
Mohali as
Exactly.
well, yeah.
And some other innings as
And
well.
I think as far as impact goes, what Laxman did at Mohali, he didn't reach 3 figures, so it doesn't
Yeah.
make the stat. But it's worth multiple hundreds that, a lot of these batters together would have played.
Okay,
Because
but I have one question. If we are going with Laxman over Kohli, what about captaincy? Because we can't take away from Kohli. He's the first Asian captain to win a series in Australia.
That's correct.
And look at what he did in that series. Look at like just the passion, the fire he led with. He had like he was getting under the Aussie skin. I remember, I think it was in this first test in Adelaide where he celebrated this Aaron Finch wicket like really vociferously, and the next day Justin Langer
no,
said,
that
"Oh,
was
you know,
every wicket in every test.
exactly." But he contributed as a captain as well. And if you don't
He
have
did.
him there, then who's your
But
captain?
I think whatever combination we end up with, this team will be good enough to not necessarily need a captain who in this hypothetical game will,
But we
rile
have to
them up
but we have
and
to
charge
consider
them.
Captaincy.
You have a candidate in Steve Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like there is
In
no
fact, you have a
captain.
He
candidate.
never won a
The
BGT
first.
as captain.
Yeah, so then
Yeah,
my counter
I
is
agree.
the first ever Border-Gavaskar trophy winning captain is there already, Sachin Tendulkar. It was his first test as captain. He won it.
So we have a vice captain as
And
well.
the one of good candidate for India's captain on this tour is also there, at least for
But
one
no
test.
experience
I think it's
yet.
time
But we're talking about
Yeah,
BGT
but-
performances. We've got to decide between. Okay, let's mention some of the other names.
So
Yes, okay.
I'll give one last comparison between Kohli and Laxman. Since I was also completely split, it was not easy to pick Kohli over Laxman for me. I then compared, apart from hundreds and these performances, their average in Australia. And Kohli's is 54 and Laxman's is 44. An average of 10 runs per innings is a big thing to think
So
about.
here's the difference. Check the averages in India as well, because that matters too. What is Kohli's average against Australia at home?
And
The
Kohli
last
doesn't have
two
that many
series, the
significant
last two,
numbers.
But which one would you give more
remove
weightage?
if you remove the 186 at Ahmedabad, which honestly was a pitch where everyone scored runs. Virat Kohli, the last two times India and Australia have played in India, has made close to no runs.
Guys,
Going
you just-
45 runs in an
you
entire
just cannot
series.
leave out the guy who made the Border-Gavaskar trophy what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can't leave out Virat Kohli. I agree.
Or Gavaskar.
Okay, but
So no, just to close that, we
Please.
tend to give a lot more importance to performances in Australia because that has been the way we viewed cricket. That it becomes tougher when India go to Australia, but it is still tough when you play Australia and India as well. To get that 281, to follow it up with 50s in both innings in Chennai against that Australian team of 2001, even though it was at home, I don't think there is anything that does not
is
take
there,
away.
is there space for
Which
both?
is why
Can
I
we
picked-
fit Kohli and Laxman into
I
this
actually
11?
had space for two batters, but that's because my other batter, I had Laxman at 6.
Okay.
I had Michael Clarke at 5.
And George also was very keen on Clark. I'll just say this about Clark. I know numbers-wise, his numbers against India are outstanding. Some of that is skewed by that 2011-12
Yeah.
season where he just pasted a very poor Indian bowling attack.
I think he's
That
still
was-
batting somewhere
Yeah, like
in
Zahir
Adelaide.
Khan was on one leg, Ishant was bowling poorly, Umesh was bowling everything on the leg side. Clark does have 3 very good hundreds in India.
That's what.
His debut 100
Including
was
his
the
debut,
most
yeah.
memorable.
And in this entire period that we're looking at, India have gone and won 2 series in Australia, and we'll see the bearing of that in the final 11 that will come out. Australia managed to win in India once, and I don't think anyone individually played as much of a role. Their entire bowling unit fired in that series. McGrath, Gillespie, Warne, all were special. But Michael Clarke in that series, 400 runs
Was he player of the series in
Guys,
2004? I
on
think it was-
debut
We are
in Bangalore,
halfway into this recording and we haven't even discussed Dravid and Ponting.
which is a reflection of their
So
performances.
we say this about Ponting. Ponting has not a great record in India, which is one of the reasons why I kind of dismissed him early-ish, because he averages more than 80 against India in Australia, but in India I think it's in the 20s.
25
You know how Baji,
odd. Yeah.
troubled him always.
Correct.
Zahir also gave him problems, I think. So
Yeah.
that's why I didn't consider Ponting. And the other one, Dravid, is an honorable mention, but his average is less than 40 in Border-Gavaskar.
200s against Australia, one in Kolkata, one in Adelaide.
Yeah,
in
both
iconic
both
wins.
his hundreds
Yeah.
are part of iconic wins.
But
Yeah.
the rest
other
of
than
his
that,
record
yeah.
is not as.
Yeah,
I actually
great
thought
as
of
this.
maybe Dravid as the makeshift opener, but Pujara, maybe because of recency bias, but also because it led to series wins.
Series wins, yeah.
Pujara went in ahead of Dravid for me.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've got to pick either one or two batters. So let's make our final votes. I think we should pick two batters if everyone agrees, just because we've all discussed the names and there's such strong cases. I would argue for Laxman and Kohli, because Kohli is your captaincy option, and Laxman, you guys have convinced me, you just can't leave out of a BGT 11.
I'll have Clarke and Laxman. Clarke is a captaincy option, and Clarke in Australia's only series win in India was the most impactful player.
Have I convinced anyone else of Kohli? George, are you willing to give us Kohli and Laxman at least?
Yeah.
Clark and
But
Laxman.
we have-
Clark
We have
and
to pick a
Laxman.
keeper as well.
Yeah, we've got to pick
We
a
are saying an
keeper.
additional
Yes.
batter, so we are
we'll
shifting
move one
Jadeja down.
Okay, so
Okay.
then,
Jadeja at 8.
okay, so then you'd have.
We'll come to the
oh
keeper
man,
now.
this-
You guys can continue talking.
Yeah,
you know.
number 7 keeper. I think actually most of us went for Rishabh Pant, right? The reason I just wanted to consider Gilchrist is because I was afraid you all wouldn't pick Kohli, and I felt we need at least one captain who's done something really big, and Gilchrist won that series
Correct.
in India in
2004.
2004. He was the captain. He got 100, I think, in
Bangalore.
one of the tests in the Bangalore
Bangalore.
test. He also had a very good 100 in 2000 in Mumbai.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Apart from that, his numbers are not great.
After
Overall-
Australia were 90 for 5 or something.
Exactly, yeah. Overall, but I think George Pant's numbers are just better than Gilchrist.
Yeah, it's a very easy choice for me. Yeah, Rishabh
And,
Pant.
and not just numbers, impact
He's,
as
he's
well.
played only a few
Yeah.
matches. Actually, Gilchrist has also not played that many
Yeah.
matches, and the impact he's had. Pant does not have a single-digit score against Australia, by the way. Yeah, just a little.
Even
All coming in this
yeah.
series. Hopefully, I'm not.
And
Well done.
yeah, he's done the unthinkable in Australia. So
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just get Rishabh Pant's name up there. Yeah, Shiv.
Did
Yeah.
you take the duster away?
Yes, it's here.
Oh, okay.
You can just put Rishabh Pant up there, and now we'll get to the bowlers, and that might help us. No, we're going. Oh.
One second.
Okay.
Rishabh Pant up where? He's number 7, right?
7,
Yeah,
yes.
we'll put him at 7 for now. Yeah.
We don't have
Quickly-
enough candidates for number 5.
Now, quickly onto the bowlers. We all had Jadeja, so we can put him
Yeah.
back. Jadeja, simple reasons, player of the series in both 2017 and 2023 at home. Also significant impact in 2020-21. So I think that's why everyone picked Jadeja, both
Yeah.
home and away performances. But now,
Now I'm going to change that because I had Jadeja in my team if we had him at 7 and Pant at 6. But if you're only playing 4 specialist bowlers, you have to go for Nathan Lyon. He's had success.
why not Lyon and Jadeja?
No, that doesn't make sense because you have to have 3 seamers.
Why?
Yeah,
you
you
can
are-
play this test in Pune.
No.
Why?
Or
No.
Kanpur.
Yeah.
You cannot have a 4-man bowling attack with
You realize
two
for,
fast bowlers.
for most of the 30 years we're talking about, teams went in with 4 bowlers.
See, we are neither
Yes,
going
but
with.
by and large, 3 seamers.
See, we neither
No.
going with 3 seamers nor 3 spinners. Let's pick 2 and 2
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We just picked 2 spinners.
because we
and
don't
2
know
seamers.
where this 11 is
And
going
we
to
have,
play.
Exactly.
we have-
You have your 12th man for that.
Yeah.
Okay, then-
The additional bowler.
We can speed this up. Jadeja, if you're picking 2 spinners and I'm being outvoted here, then Jadeja and Nathan Lyon.
I also picked Lyon. I know Ashwin.
Same here,
I know
yes.
that Yash has
Ashwin.
an objection.
Ashwin.
Why Ashwin over Lyon?
Because I know.
Although you are 3-1,
Yeah, I know, but he still wants to hear
Yeah,
my
yeah.
side of it.
he wants to, yes.
I've conceded, but since it's quite commonly acknowledged that Ashwin tends to fail in Australia and Lyon is so much better, India's wins in Australia in the last 2 series, Adelaide 2018, our Ashwin
Yeah.
bowled 87 overs, 6 for 149,
Yes.
3 wickets in both the innings. All of the wickets were proper batters, barring the last wicket, which too was important because Australia were coming close
Yeah,
to the
but
target.
Lyon
I'm-
routinely comes here and takes 7 wickets, 8
So-
wickets,
so-
6 wickets.
so the argument-
And also bowls well in Australia.
Yeah.
Last
So-
show was not great for him.
So here's
But
the thing: the argument has been that Lyon has bowled well in Australia and equally well in favourable
Better in the
conditions.
last couple of series. 2017 he outbowled Ashwin, I thought. Jadeja and Lyon both bowled better than Ashwin in the 2017 series. 2023, Lyon won Australia that one test which they won,
Yeah.
which was Nagpur
Yeah, so
or was it
the-
Indore?
Indore,
Yeah,
yes.
Indore.
One number I do need to present to feel some peace is that Nathan Lyon in these tests in Australia, bowling averages, Ashwin 42, Nathan Lyon 38. So it's not like Nathan Lyon has been exceptionally better
But that's
than
but the last
Ashwin.
series
And that
could
too.
have gone down. But Lyon has won
sim-
the 2014-15 Adelaide Test, 2018-19 Perth Test of his own back, basically. I think player of the match.
And
in both
Ashwin
those
has
matches.
been
And the
key to
Pune
India's
Test
wins
in
in Adelaide
India.
in 2018, in MCG in 2020, and also Adelaide 2020, which the batters lost with 36 all out. India took the lead in the first innings, 4 for 55. Set the tone for that series. So I'm not saying that he will replace him. I'm just saying that the narrative around Ashwin and how
Yeah,
Lyon
very
has been
close. No, no,
much
very close.
superior
Very close.
is far from
Yeah.
reality.
No, we all agree it's very close, but we're going with Lyon just ahead of Ashwin.
And Jadeja because he has
In India,
Astounding numbers, yeah.
Astoundingly good
Border-Gavaskar
numbers.
trophy record, yeah.
Yeah, and again, this is just based on BGT performances. So this
Yeah.
is not saying
I think-
Lyon is a better bowler than Ashwin. It's saying in these particular series, we feel he's done better. Okay, I just have to interrupt this stream to say that the lineup crew did indeed discuss Harbhajan Singh, Anil Kumble, and Shane Warne as members of an all-time BGT 11. We're not just Gen Z hacks. We of course remember their great performances. We had a lot of discussions about them off camera, and in order to stick to time, we decided to just stick to Ashwin and Lyon as the options, and that's who we discussed on camera. But of course, honorable mentions to Anil Kumble, Harbhajan Singh, and Shane Warne for their excellent performances in Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Now, for the 12th player, we are going to pick, I'm guessing, all a third seamer, right? Because we picked two spinners.
Can we address the elephant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5. We still don't have it.
I've been avoiding that.
Okay, so now it's straightforward because
You have 4 minutes.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with Kohli over Clark, and he's my captain.
Yes, I also want Kohli.
Yeah, I
over
also. Kohli is.
Come on.
We have to have Kohli, man. Come on, we've got Laxman there.
No, I'm just saying, come on,
Kohli
because
as
George has
captain.
done this to save time here. He said Clark. That's the first thing he said.
It's also because you have a recording soon.
It's Kohli.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yash is-
I can't accept it.
Yash is doing a Freudian slip with his hands. Okay, let's quickly discuss 12th player. We've gone, by the way, with the bowlers. Everyone agreed on Bumrah and Makra. Outstanding
Yeah.
figures. 2004. Played a huge role. Bumrah, very small sample size, but 2 excellent tours
7 tests, I
of
think.
Australia. I
in
don't think he's
BGT.
ever played Australia in a home test, actually.
Yeah, he hasn't.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But just on those 2 series, he gets in. Now 12th player, there are a lot of options for this. Vishal, who did you pick as another seamer in this 12?
I had picked Pat Cummins, I think.
Okay. George, I know you also were keen on Cummins.
Yeah, but he was going to be in my 11. But, 12th man.
We moved everyone
doesn't matter.
one position
Yeah,
down.
let's go with the guy who.
Ishant Sharma is the
Ishant
name I
Sharma,
threw in.
yeah.
Because the only issue with Ishant is he had two very poor tours of Australia. But apart from that, he played a very important tour in 2018,
I wish
19.
the rest of the world could see what's happening behind the camera.
Yeah, Samvit is saying no, but player of the series in 2008 at home.
Wow.
That's one series.
But
And-
also 1 second, 2018-19 took some very important wickets, averaged less than 25 on that tour, had another good series at home against Australia in 2010. He's an option, is what I'm saying.
I may even pick Gillespie over Ishant Sharma, but I'm picking Pat Cummins, who's even better.
Why
according
not
to me.
Hazelwood then instead of
I'm
Cummins?
actually just thinking of a gun fielder in these Indian Australia
Ashwin.
matches.
You have Jadeja there already. Andrew Simons. Let's pick another seamer because we will need that balance if you're playing in conditions where you need the third seamer. Yash, any thoughts?
Pat
Third
Cummins.
seamer.
Pat Cummins, yeah.
Pat Cummins over Hazelwood, even though Hazelwood has a 6-4 in Bengaluru and 2 fifers at the Gabba versus India. That fifer and
Pat
Adelaide.
Cummins.
Okay, fine. Cummins it is. We do Pat Cummins, excellent bowler in India and in Australian conditions. So we
Yeah.
put him as a 12th
In
player.
fact, when we want to play with 5 bowlers, Cummins can even replace Kohli as the captain.
On that note, that's our all-time BGT 12. We had to pick a 12 because it was very hard to pick just an 11. Kohli and Laxman both make it. Virat Kohli will be captaining this team. And there are a lot of very good names that have been missed out, but that's the 11 that we've gone with.